You're watching F5. We are here at Mobile World Congress 2025 in Barcelona, Spain. We are at the beautiful F5 booth where we have lots of space to be able to connect with our partners and customers. But right now I actually have one of our partners from Red Hat with me. I've got Ian. Ian, can you give an introduction for yourself?
Well, thanks so much, Boo. I'm really happy to be here at F5 at your booth where we're working together. So I'm the Chief Technology Officer for telecommunications for Red Hat. And kind of what we do is I spend time working with our partners and our customers to see if we can solve their challenges, from a business perspective and a technology perspective, and take these emerging innovations, to drive better business outcomes.
Fantastic. So, as I've walked around, I was here last year, and this year I've seen a change between everything just saying AI with no context to this year actually having some context. So that's my observation for the past little while. But I'm interested to hear what you're observing out in the industry.
So kind of similarly, so I was here last year as well, and so sort of the AI hype was kind of going on and not really a lot being executed at that point. Whereas I think this time around, the AI that's going on is a bit more real. There's actually some use cases that we're demonstrating both on the sort of business side of the house, business process side, the efficiency there, then the automation portion, but the trend, kind of the theme that I see here, which one we believe in is the autonomous infrastructure, right? That equation, right? So that's the second one. Then how do we apply AI inference at the edge for the radio access network? And we've demonstrated that here as well. And on top of that, at the same location, take that traffic and do AI inference for an edge application. Right? So that's another key thing we've done here. The other two players, pieces that are in, are how do we evolve and drive towards this network as a service, self-service digital capabilities? That's becoming more of a key theme that people are, again, not just talking about it, specific use cases. We sort of demonstrated some last year, but now we're sort of seeing some of these fraud detection, SIM swap, QoD type applications being shown in real life. So that's a couple of ones that I see here.
Oh wow, that's cool. So you were mentioning those are demos that you guys have done here.
Absolutely, yeah. So we actually announced this week, right, with SoftBank and NVIDIA, with Fujitsu and Nokia, the AI RAN concept. So that one's actually being demonstrated here while we're at it. Right? So these kind of things we're demonstrating while we're here. And same thing with the API story. Right? We're demonstrating that on our booth. Similarly, the AI automation and autonomous infrastructure, that we actually started demonstrating about a year and a half ago at TM Forum with AT&T, British Telecom, IBM, a couple of other partners, ServiceNow, and built that whole feedback loop for the silent cell use case and the 5G upgrade failover use case to fully automate that. And what cool thing we did was we said, well, why don't we actually build the automation playbook with AI that's built inside Ansible?
Because I was actually at Red Hat Summit last year, and event-driven Ansible was one of the major announcements. Does it have anything to do with that?
So that's the first piece, is to actually, so based on these events, go force the playbook to happen, right? So that's one way to to close the loop. But why don't I actually, while I'm doing this, take this information that I've collected over, sent from a service level all the way down to the infrastructure level, go send that through these TM Forum APIs, and based on that information, why don't I actually have the Ansible Lightspeed code let me build the playbook with Gen AI, right? Not just have got event driven, now I've got Gen AI Ansible playbook writing.
Very cool. That's awesome. It's all coming around. Being to two events that actually have this linkage together is pretty neat. One term that you mentioned in there that I come from the enterprise side of things, so I'm still learning my acronyms around the telco world. There's a lot of them. Silent cell.
Oh, actually, so the silent cell is we got all these. We got our cell phones, right? And they connect to a particular cell tower, and there's a bunch of cells up that we all connect to. So what we do is we go monitor those to see if there's any traffic actually happening. So if it's not actually happening, it's gone silent. Right? So what we do based on that set of data, we look at it and say, you know what? Why don't I just shut that off, and then I save power at that location because this guy's quiet for the moment, right? So I can dynamically adjust whether this cell needs to be alive or not because there's no real traffic flying in it, and that addresses part of this sustainability reduction of power, where we all know that in the RAN, right, that's 70% of the power in a mobile network.
Okay, that's it. So there is significant cost savings or operational savings to do
absolutely.
that.
And so we demonstrated this actually last year with Intel and Ericsson and Nokia by actually tuning the CPUs on the hardware and based on their states, turn down the power boost based on how busy the CPUs are underneath us. So we've done that in the Intel category. We're now actually doing that in the AMD category because now that we're starting to see that architecture show up with some of our partners in the packet core. And then of course we've got in the AI world, the GPUs. So that AI RAN solution we were demonstrating was actually using both NVIDIA GPUs in the AI RAN solution, but in the Nokia case, that was Nokia hardware, not a GPU. Right, so we do it in both ways. Right? So that's kind of the way that we're applying this, approach and driving down the power curve. But that's not the only thing we got to do in power. Well, no, we got to go do that with the cooling wherever these things live. And the other thing that's also important is if we're going to be green, we need to monitor where the power is coming from, where I'm consuming it from in the first place. Like what's the source of this power, and decide what's the right balance to drive down that. Right? And then look at this whole thing holistically around the architecture, not just look at the RAN.
Yeah, super interesting. That's really cool. And I imagine this is really powered by OpenShift as a platform for you guys?
Absolutely, because OpenShift is a platform we brought to market about 4 or 5 years ago in terms of the telco side of it. We've been running with OpenStack for the LTE world, and so pretty much all of our customers built their LTE networks on OpenStack and virtual machines. Then we said, well, let's make this more efficient. So then let's go to cloud native, and these are now cloud native in the core, now in the REN. And that is the OpenShift platform that we can now deploy these network applications on this platform and tune it to the hardware that's underneath, tune it to the application that's configured, automate how we do that. Now that's just one piece of what we do. But if you sort of step back to what Red Hat does, we're an app development enabler. So what we do on the IT side is we let our customers develop and deploy their applications on the same platform. Deploy these network applications on OpenShift. Now in the world of AI, I can now develop and tune a model on my platform and apply that to the application running on the same platform, wherever that may be, private, public, hybrid, edge.
That is interesting because when it comes to telcos, it seems like the perfect place for people to be able to deploy to the edge. In that there's the device, the radio, and then going deeper into the network. But otherwise, you're on your own building this stuff out, like trying to figure out your own networking.
Well, exactly.
So you have that capability there on the platform.
So basically, so OpenShift sort of comes in multiple sizes and shapes. Right, we got people are using it in the public cloud as a managed service. Right, for those people that don't want to have to actually manage and deal with my platform, that layer of it, they just want to have it as a managed thing and have somebody else look after it, and they're just worried about the applications. Then you have it in the private data centers for the core. Right, then as you move up to the edge, right, there's a 3-node version of OpenShift that I can run sort of some network applications, some edge applications at that location. Right? And this is where you kind of get into the radio access plus the UPF pieces are now at that location. I move out to the next edge, and that is where the DU lives on a single node OpenShift. Right? And that's where I've got to compress that to as little horsepower for me, give as much as I can to the radio side, so they can actually maximize the capacity of the radio network on that platform. Last place I go next, right, is let's take this out to the factories, out to the mines, and actually this week we announced that we're going to take this one to space.
Oh, cool.
And this is called Device Edge. So that's a really small form factor where I've got a much smaller version of Microshift or Linux on this platform that's about this big, and I can put it pretty much on anything. So if we sort of think about the space option, I'm going to develop the code here on the ground on a larger platform, and then deploy it on this tiny version that's up in space.
A friend of mine worked on that project at Red Hat, actually. His name's Chris Sexsmith, but he's since moved on to NVIDIA, of all places.
I know Chris quite well.
Oh, really? Oh, shout out to you, Chris. He's from Vancouver, which is how I know Chris.
Awesome.
Yeah, super cool. And I guess, with F5, we partnered with Red Hat for a long time. We've been doing some cool stuff when it comes to multi-cloud networking and adding tunnels on top of just radio or just network access, and then layer 7 security once the applications are deployed, being able to actually secure the application itself. So, match made in heaven.
It really is, because all of our operators are trying to build security in what they do for their L3, L4 things that they do, wherever that may be. And one of the things that you sort of look at how you build out a platform is I've got to get the platform put in, then I've got to go apply the network associated with it, then I go to apply the customer security to it. That's before I even get to attempt to onload somebody's CNF onto the platform, which I have to decide before I do so. Does it have any vulnerabilities? And then while it's running, after I've got it on, I keep actually looking at it in flight to see if it continues to have any or not. Right? Then I have to go ahead and say, now I've got to go configure that on top of my platform. And all of this work we're talking about is done with CI/CD pipelines for the configuration of the platforms and the network applications that live on the platform. Right? So that's kind of how we have to go build this. And how we work together on this side is that networking that they have to go do, we have to do that in an efficient manner, just like we do with the mobile pieces, and make it so we can actually handle with DPI inspection, NAT, these kind of things that are required at that network level within these data centers that are distributed to other ones, and make that a very efficient approach. And that's part of that autonomous infrastructure conversation. It's not just making the mobile pieces autonomous, but the physical ones and the other virtual ones, and the underlying routers and optical pieces as well.
Yeah, and actually last year we had it demonstrated API discovery and API security, because as you deploy 5G, as I learned, it's all container-based and it's all microservices talking to each other over API. And some of these open concepts mean that it's more of a partnership with other aspects of the network functions as opposed to a vertical stack. And
Absolutely.
so I think with what you guys are doing, being able to enable that, now we can actually jump into security.
So we can sort of take on sort of two things in this path. So we've kind of worked and put together a really elegant approach to, I've got to migrate some applications off of another virtualization platform onto my platform. So how do I swing the traffic easily over there, right? Load balance it, secure it, while I'm upgrading and moving these set of applications to run on Red Hat. Right, so there's a really good one that we absolutely work together and complement how we make this evolution from a legacy kind of virtualization world to the new world. But in terms of the API conversation, so we had a customer roundtable on Tuesday about the whole network as a service in that market, and how we want to use APIs to deliver different types of services for the operator, and then enable other ones at the edge for the enterprise. And as we all know, we have a long history of many flavors of APIs, right? So we need to be able to actually take them off the network exposure function from the TM forum, and to deliver that, then add the new Chimera ones that have come in, right, for these open API gateways that the telcos have been building, right, in the open source world, and take that, aggregate them in, translate them, and then pass them on to developers, off to the cloud. And another really interesting capability is to actually build a layer 7 connection between my platform and somebody else's that might be in the public cloud that isn't running OpenShift on that cloud, right? I can actually connect those two at layer 7 over the top. So we can build some very interesting capabilities between the two of us to enable that capability for them to deliver these very innovative services over our two platforms.
Yeah. Very, very exciting stuff. I'm more and more loving this service provider stuff. I know on the F5 side, we've got f5.com/Red Hat, where we can send people to find out more about our collaborative solutions. Anything on your side where folks can find out about telco solutions from Red Hat?
Yeah, so we have a telecommunications site on Red Hat, and from there you can go see from that side what partner things we're doing together. Then on top of that, a very important thing is that in order to know that they can actually deploy your applications on my platform, we've certified these things to operate on OpenShift. So then there's the go and see where that code lives and where this operator is between us, so we can people say, yes, I need to use this, and it's already been validated and tested to run on our platform. These are kind of the two places that I would go, is to basically the telecom site and the partner site to go see what's been validated and certified on our platform.
Very important stuff to do with that. I know I've worked with a number of folks on this team who are focused on the validation because people want to make sure this stuff works. So fantastic. I can tell you the Red Hat and F5 stuff works because I've seen it with my own eyes.
And I'm actually that kind of person as well. Like, I don't actually talk about things. Like, we wouldn't be talking here if I didn't know that it worked.
Yeah.
Right? I'm the show me kind of guy. So if we haven't seen it together and I don't really kind of have a belief that it's going to be possible, I don't get in conversations about it. Right? So I've seen it work. Our customers are using, that's the other key, is that if it's deployed on a customer doing something, and we've done this for a number of years with a bunch of our customers in the telco market, so we can keep expanding that and growing that set of emerging capabilities together.
Awesome. We've got some really smart folks working on that team, so really confident about it. I know on the Red Hat side, work with a couple really smart folks as well. So great to partner with you guys. Folks, make sure you follow us along on LinkedIn, on X, Facebook, YouTube, like, subscribe, do all those things. We'll put in all of the details for getting all of that information. And otherwise, thank you very much for checking us out at Mobile World Congress 2025. We'll see you on the next one. Bye now.